SpaceX's Starship Flight 12 is on the horizon. Ship 39 is about to start testing, and Booster 19 will consume 28 tons of propellant per second. There is a massive difference in the Starship V3 design that no one has talked about yet, and the Giga Bay is even more giga than you think. The satellite world is getting ready for space-based AI computing, NASA is researching the sun, and the Artemis spacesuit for the next moon landing is almost ready. My name is Felix, welcome to What About It. Let's dive right in. Starship updates. Welcome back, my friends. Today it's all about Flight 12 and about a crazy plan for 2026. SpaceX's Starbase is all about fast progress. Some say that's the wrong way, and others that this is the only way.
This is the way.
To tackle such a monumental challenge. Starships are so large that even manufacturing them turns into a challenge of its own, especially with the production volume SpaceX is aiming for. Starbase is supposed to produce 3 Starships per day. Just to put this into perspective, that's one finished every 8 hours. The most asked question about this is why SpaceX would need 3 Starships per day, and we'll talk about that later in this episode. For now, let's just focus on how they'll do it. SpaceX's Starship Giga Bay is the key here. It is not just a larger bay. It's supposed to be a mass production facility. We've seen it grow rapidly for a few months now, and SpaceX is now at the next stage. Literally. Crane segments have been rolling in over the past couple of days to lift the 4 massive building cranes higher up. They're growing with the building itself, and at some point, these same cranes will lift the roof decking up to finish it from the outside. Expect this construction to grow to more than double the height you're seeing in our images. Next up on our update list is Flight 12. I wanted to know as much as you do about the next launch, so I investigated further. Le Padre Space gave me a scare. On the 13th, Megabay 2's door opened to reveal the ship missing from the center workstation. Scared yet? The CH-4 and LOX autogenous pressurization raceways I talked about on the last episode were lifted into place and attached to the station, after which the door was closed. Ship 39 will now be lifted back onto the stand to complete the installation. And I am pleased to say that Ship 39 is now almost finished. We are not far away from it rolling out for a cryo test, maybe even before Christmas. Let me know in the comments what you think when this is going to happen. You've heard me say autogenous pressurization many times, but what exactly does this mean anyway? What do those unspectacular looking pipes do? They are mounted on the exterior of a Starship's hull and repressurize the main fuel tanks with gaseous methane and oxygen directly from the engines. They do this to prevent a vacuum from building up inside these tanks while the rocket is ascending. 6 hungry raptors are under every Starship. Let's do a little math to figure out how hungry they actually are and what those unimportant looking pipes are actually accomplishing. Alright, keep in mind that all the values I have are approximations. SpaceX didn't publish them, and sources are hard to find and even harder to verify. I also use sea level specific impulse and full thrust. So there may be minor discrepancies from the actual numbers, but it'll give us a good starting point. To calculate how much fuel a rocket engine burns per second, we use a very simple relationship. The thrust tells us how hard the engine is pushing. Specific impulse tells us how efficiently it turns fuel into that push. Think of specific impulse as fuel economy for rockets. It doesn't tell you how powerful the engine is, just how efficiently it turns propellant into thrust. It's comparable to miles per gallon or liters per 100 kilometers in cars. If we divide the thrust by the engine's specific impulse and multiply by Earth's gravity, we get the mass of propellant flowing through the engine every second. For SpaceX's Raptor engine, that works out to around 865 kilograms of liquid oxygen and methane every single second per engine. That's slightly more than 5 tons of fuel consumption per second for a ship. That roughly 865 kilograms per second of propellant isn't split evenly. Raptor burns liquid methane and liquid oxygen in about a 3.6 to 1 ratio. That means only about 188 kilograms per second is methane, while roughly 677 kilograms per second is liquid oxygen. And when you light 33 of them at once on a super heavy booster, the numbers get absolutely insane. 28.5 tons of fuel consumption per second at sea level and at full thrust. Now imagine you'd remove this much fuel from the 2 main tanks per second without adding anything to replace it. I bet now you're going to see these pipes here on the outside with different eyes on the next launch. It's always good to get another angle before choosing what to believe. Jared Isaacman has cleared the last hurdle for full Senate approval as NASA administrator. You've heard the news, maybe read a few articles, but have you seen the full story? Getting a complete overview is essential, yet nearly impossible with just a browser search. Start using Ground News like me. Ground News is a secret superpower. It uses their app and website to compare different global media coverage of the same story. It is framed differently everywhere. Over 200 sources at Ground News is massive, and the way many outlets phrase their headline makes it obvious that bias is at play. The left-leaning Gizmodo focuses on senators grilling Isaacman over a leaked plan to slash science and privatize space, while the right-leaning National Post emphasizes him aiming to beat China in a new race to the moon. This difference shows how two outlets cover the same event but lead readers to entirely different conclusions. Ground News is my go-to research tool, offering a unique overview and multiple perspectives for the full picture. Check story factuality, ownership, and bias. A personalized blind spot feed shows what you're missing. Go to ground.news/Y right away and get 40% off the Vantage plan. Perfectly unbiased. With the raceway installed, SpaceX is very close to giving Ship 39 a first spin at Massey's. Let's give this a splash of speculation pepper. SpaceX moved the ship transport stand at Massey's. While this could be for all sorts of things, they are not known for doing unnecessary things. Sometimes it's the little things that give the clues. This could be a sign that SpaceX wants to roll Ship 39 to Massey's soon for cryo and then static fire tests. Time will tell. Let's switch the subject to boosters now. B-18.3, one of SpaceX's V3 booster test tanks, is in Rambo mode. On December 11th in the evening, SpaceX started test number 8 on this tough test tank. This makes it possibly the most tested test tank in Starbase history. As can be seen in Le Padre Space's footage, the test began at around 8:50 p.m. in the evening and lasted until 4 a.m. in the morning on December 12th. That is a solid 7 hours. This test tank resembles an aft section of a V3 booster. Every successful test means that SpaceX is closer to rolling Booster 19 out for its first test. And speaking of Booster 19, on the last episode I was delighted to report that the LOX header tank was moved out of the Star Factory around the GigaBay construction site and toward Megabay 1. Today I'm even more delighted to show you that Booster 19 has been lifted down, which can only mean one thing. They're installing it. The construction frenzy continues. On every episode I can report more parts being installed. This is unprecedented. On version 2 boosters, all this took around 3 months. Now it seems only to take 4 weeks. Speaking of crazy improvements, if you want to help us make even better content and fly more often in a helicopter, hit the subscribe button to stay informed. Like this video if it brought you value and become a WAI supporter for those extra heli flights. Be our fuel, chat with me and gain more insights on the topic you love. Thank you very much. And there's one more item we've all been waiting for. Booster 19's aft section was rolled into Megabay 1 as well. As can clearly be seen on Le Padre Space, with this inside the base, SpaceX is around 70% done with stacking. Only the methane tank and the forward section are missing, and those aren't very complicated parts. Booster 19 won't hide in its house for much longer. Give it a few more days and we'll see it roll out. And then we'll have witnessed a complete booster stacking in 4 weeks for the first time at Starbase. I think there is a very good chance that Booster 19 cryo tests start before the end of this month. We've also been in the air again with Redline Heli for yet another helicopter flight, and RGV aerial photography was as well. From above you can see the true extent. It's incredible to see how fast the GigaBay is growing. Here you can see why they are going to extend the height of those 4 construction cranes soon. And there's another extremely interesting sight. Remember how we talked about Booster 18 and 19 in the past few episodes, and how I emphasized that version 3 is an almost complete redesign? Mauricio took the picture. Take a look at this. It's the same booster aft section, but it looks entirely different on Booster 17's scrapped aft section and on Booster 18's remains. The entire fuel manifold is different. The LOX header tank configuration, the missing COPVs in the center, where on V2 everything was very symmetrical, on V3 there is a clear departure from this philosophy. And the reason can likely partly be seen in the reconfiguration of the return flight profile. Version 3 Super Heavy boosters will have 3 grid fins. They'll glide on one side exclusively, further increasing the so-called downrange capability. This means the booster will travel a greater distance above ground while coming back down without having to spend fuel on it. It will glide. I know that is hard to see when talking about a cigar-shaped object. The more you position chines into the wind and the more you shift weight to one side, the better and more stable it will glide. When we think about high-tech products, miniaturization is what first comes to mind. The tendency to make things smaller. California-based K2 Space has decided to go the opposite way. The company is building massive, high-powered satellites for a surprisingly low price. Meet K2's Mega Class. This satellite platform features a 3 meters by 3 meters payload deck. That's about as large as my studio. This giant deck offers ample space for complex systems and delivers 10 times the power of other Constellation-class satellites. 20 kilowatts instead of just 2. At the same time, priced at just $15 million, it is undercutting traditional large satellite procurement costs by a lot. K2's approach to go bigger leverages the payload capacity of next-generation heavy-lift rockets like the New Glenn 7X2 or 9X4 and, of course, Starship. Remember how people wondered what a mega rocket like Starship could even send to space? What it could be useful for? Now the company has announced that it has raised another $250 million after successful prior financing rounds. The funding comes on the heels of K2's remarkable 2024 performance, during which the company scaled from 25 to 90 employees and moved into a new facility in Torrance, California. After successfully completing its first in-space demonstration mission, which validated critical in-house components, including flight computers and reaction wheels, it is time to go all in. K2 secured a $60 million Space Force contract for its first full satellite mission. It's codenamed Gravitas, and its launch is scheduled no earlier than February 2026. Which is like tomorrow. This demonstration will validate K2's multi-orbit capabilities across low Earth orbit and medium orbit, carrying multiple national security payloads. Various Air Force entities, including the Space Development Agency and Air Force Research Laboratory, will support it. Back in October, K2 Space announced its Trinity mission, set for a launch in 2027. This mission has a different objective, demonstrating K2 Space's capability to proliferate satellites across low Earth orbit, medium Earth orbit, and geostationary transfer orbit. A triple orbit mission, all from a single launch. At the heart of this capability lies K2's 20-kilowatt Krypton-fed Hall effect thruster, which the company successfully tested last year. This story starts with one of these, an NVIDIA H100 GPU. No, we're not doing game reviews. In AI data centers around the world, these supercomputing platforms relentlessly power all our AI needs. Now, Starcloud, a startup based in Redmond, Washington, is operating one of these GPUs in orbit. You guys rock. The system is integrated into the Starcloud 1 satellite. Its mission is to address the escalating energy demands of artificial intelligence infrastructure. At the moment, it is the most powerful GPU ever deployed in orbit. 100 times more capable than any previous space-based operation, according to NVIDIA. The satellite is roughly the size of a small refrigerator, weighing in at just 60 kilograms. It has demonstrated remarkable capabilities by training Google's Gemma large language module and OpenAI co-founder Andrej Karpathy's Nano GPT in orbit. Starcloud's approach addresses critical challenges facing terrestrial data centers. They need an incredible amount of power and generate a lot of heat. This is what makes orbital data centers so desirable. Constant solar exposure for infinite power delivery, and space's vacuum as an infinite heat sink for radiative cooling. Keep in mind that any cooling on Earth consumes energy. In space, it doesn't. It's cold already, even if heat transfer takes longer. Starcloud projects tenfold reductions in both energy costs and carbon emissions compared to Earth-based facilities. And NVIDIA's Inception program backs the company, and now it has secured a partnership with the cloud infrastructure company Crusoe. Crusoe plans to deploy its cloud platform on Starcloud's next satellite, launching no earlier than October 2026. This mission will feature multiple H100 chips and integrate NVIDIA's more powerful Blackwell platform. Current applications include processing satellite imagery from the observation company Capella Space for critical tasks such as detecting capsized vessels and forest fires. In the near future, we will likely see multiple companies jump on the orbital AI bandwagon. Starcloud CEO Philip Johnston predicts that within a decade, nearly all new data centers will be constructed in space. A prediction that is increasingly shared by industry leaders, including Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, who recently announced SpaceX's interest in orbital data centers. Back down on Earth, NASA has selected two interesting missions for continued development. A single Small Explorer mission concept will progress to the flight design phase, while another concept is granted an extended period for continued development, and both aim at the Sun. The Small Explorer is named Cinema, but it won't show you any movies. No. Cinema stands for Cross-Scale Investigation of Earth Magnetotail and Aurora. Yeah, that is a mouthful. But its mission is critical, understanding the impact of space weather on Earth. Space weather is highly relevant because solar activity significantly impacts modern technology and infrastructure that society depends on every single day. I mean, we just talked about large companies wanting to move data centers into space, right? Geomagnetic storms can damage or destroy satellites through radiation and atmospheric drag. They can negatively impact GPS navigation, weather forecasting, communications, and military systems. But there is more. Major solar storms threaten global power grids. For example, they induce electrical currents in power lines that can overload transformers. Severe solar storm events cause widespread, prolonged outages, potentially costing billions of dollars in lost productivity and damage. High-frequency radio used by aviation, military, and emergency services can be disrupted. And those in the sky are subject to another risk as well. Flight crews and passengers are exposed to increased radiation doses, especially on polar routes. This effect is even worse for astronauts, especially on the ISS. As we become increasingly dependent on space-based technology and interconnected electrical systems, understanding and predicting space weather becomes ever more critical. Dartmouth College and the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory in Laurel, Maryland have been selected by NASA to begin developing a mission. Unlocking solar eruption mysteries is at the core of the second project that was selected by NASA to move forward for a 12-month extended Phase A study. It is called CMEx, the Chromosphere Magnetism Explorer. The idea behind CMEx is to use ultraviolet spectropolarimetry to make the first continuous observations of magnetic fields in the Sun's chromosphere. Lots of complicated words. Let's unpack this. The chromosphere is the atmospheric layer directly above the visible surface of the Sun. It's hotter than the surface and appears reddish during eclipses. Magnetic fields twist and tangle here, building up energy that eventually erupts as solar flares and coronal mass ejections, the drivers of solar space weather. Understanding the processes in this layer can help us better understand the Sun's inner workings. Spectropolarimetry is the tool of choice to perform these studies. It combines two techniques, breaking light into its colors, like a rainbow, and measuring how light waves vibrate. By studying both wavelength and polarization together, scientists can learn about magnetic fields and atmospheric properties of stars, planets, and other cosmic objects that regular observations might miss. CMEx is a single spacecraft mission that builds on proven hardware from NASA's CLASP sounding rocket flights. Both Cinema and CMEx have no projected launch dates yet. While Artemis 3 also might launch sooner or later, the preparations for this mission, humanity's first crewed moon landing in over 50 years, are well advanced. One key system for this mission is the new lunar spacesuit, the AXEMU, or Axiom Extravehicular Mobility Unit. It has already started its evaluation campaign. Now, Axiom Space and KBR have completed the first uncrewed thermal vacuum test of this suit. The test took place at KBR's Aerospace Environment Protection Laboratory in San Antonio, Texas. It simulated extreme lunar temperatures and vacuum conditions to evaluate thermal performance and the advanced materials used in the suit. This testing facility has a lot of history to tell. Here, among other places, Apollo astronauts trained for their moon landings. The AXEMU's test campaign also includes crewed pressurized testing. With over 700 hours of these tests, the design team has gathered vital information. And that will be put to good use to finalize the design before it enters complex test series as Axiom progresses toward NASA's spacesuit qualification under the Exploration Extravehicular Activities Services contract. Blue Origin CEO Dave Limp recently announced completion of a 15-second hotfire test of New Glenn's fourth Glenn Stage 2 upper stage. They are ramping up production. Excellent. The test validates that serial number 4 is ready to fly, and it is a good opportunity to have a look at what's to come next for New Glenn. Blue Origin will start its New Glenn launch year with a very ambitious project: refly a booster for the first time on the rocket's third mission. While this is aspirational, it would be great to see it happen. Regardless, NG-3 will carry the Blue Moon Mark I lunar lander on its Pathfinder demonstration mission to the moon's surface. That sounds really good. This uncrewed cargo lander serves as a precursor to the Mark II crewed lander selected for NASA's Artemis 5 mission. The launch date is still a bit vague, early 2026. Beyond Blue Moon, the New Glenn launch manifest has more exciting missions to offer. Firefly has booked a launch for its Elytra Mission 1, validating its new orbital vehicle. This highly maneuverable spacecraft is designed for on-orbit services, including payload delivery, space domain awareness, and satellite deployment. The launch date here, no earlier than Q1 2026. Amazon's LEO constellation satellites will soon become a regular payload for New Glenn as well. The first mission for Starlink's future competitor is set to take place in the summer, with many more to come soon after that. While ramping up the launch cadence, Blue Origin plans to improve its New Glenn rocket gradually. More powerful BE-4 and BE-3U engines, reusable fairings, updated thermal protection systems, and propellant subcooling are all designed to boost payload performance and enable a faster turnaround time. With New Glenn and Starship both entering a new phase in their respective programs, it is pretty clear that 2026 will become the year of the super heavies. This will be awesome. I just can't wait to watch these giants launch more frequently. Welcome back to the WAI Countdown, your rapid-fire look behind the curtain at everything that keeps this channel blasting off. Today I want to give a huge shout out to those who told their story of how they got infected by the space virus. I must have read around 100 of them. One WAI viewer said that he watched the moon landing from a Titan submarine. Another one said that he got a personal message from Fred Hayes. Others pointed out that the Challenger disaster was their entry, as it was mine, and some even said that WAI was the reason, which is an incredibly humbling feeling for the entire team. And we all started at some point. Share this video with someone you think would be interested in space. Spread the news and infect more people with the space virus. Thank you for sharing, and thanks for the support. When this community locks arms, nothing is out of reach. Thank you for being our rocket fuel. We're all in this mission together. And that's it for today. Smash the like button, subscribe for more. This is what fuels the algorithm, and this is how you can help us for free. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. Our brand new Raptor emblem design and countless others are there for you to explore. Our craziest sale ever is still running. We have a massive 25% off on orders over $50 in the US and worldwide store. 2 more days are left, and an incredible number of people have already gotten their WAI holiday present. That is the largest sale we've ever done. We're shipping out things as fast as possible so that most will still reach you before Christmas. And if you want to know how SpaceX managed to build Raptor 3, the new Starship powerhouse, and what makes it special, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode. Yay!